You're listening to Podcast PXN, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. Let's do this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 65. I'm one of your hosts, Roshan Warner, aka Roro, and I'm joined by Dan the Halo Man, Daniel Prindle, and the pride of PlayStation, Sean Babiak. How are you guys doing today or tonight?
Great. Fantastic.
The opposite of Daniel's response.
Oh, of course.
Today, it's not today. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and watching us live. It threw me off there. Thank you, everyone, for joining us live there and participating in the live chat. We record live every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and you can find us on YouTube if you just search up Podcast PXN. The topic of the show today is going to be Cyberpunk 2077. It is finally released, and a lot has happened since its release. We're going to be talking about all the news that has happened and that's surrounding the company and the game. But first, we started off with the PXN news of the week, and we're going to start off with the Game Awards, which happened last week, December 10th, I believe. I think it was a Thursday, but me and Daniel reacted to it live here on the channel, and it was lots of fun. So I'm just going to get some highlights from everybody here. I have a list here from IGN on all the games that came out here, but it'll take me forever if I just went through all of them. So I'm just going to ask you guys what your guys' highlights was it about the show. But how did you guys feel about it? Do you guys like this year's Game Awards? How did you feel? Was it good? Was it meh? Or do you think it was one of the stronger ones that we've had?
Yeah, I think we talked about this on the live stream, Roro. I freaking thought it was amazing. I thought honestly, I think it's the best one Jeff has done in the last, 5 years. And I think that's really a testament to how hard he's been working to get all of these exclusives lined up. And even the game awards themselves, I thought were, better presented as well. Even with the whole COVID-19 pandemic, they gave people a lot of time to talk about, appreciating their awards and everything. So I loved that. And that's coming off of last year where I thought there's no way Jeff could top that because like the Xbox Series X reveal was such a surprise. I didn't expect it to be there. And I feel like Jeff definitely stepped it up this year. And Sean, you can attest last year when the Series X was announced and I was screaming in the living room and you were in bed sleeping. So
I had to be up early the next day, and all I hear is, I thought you died. And lo and behold, you're alive, but I think your heart literally stopped.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I thought it was a pretty good show, too. I thought it was one of the stronger ones as well. There weren't a lot of boring moments. It kept feeding off each other, whether it be the awards were coming through fast, which I think they do need to fix a little bit. Some of the awards don't get as much recognition as I think some of them should. After all, it is an award show, but they do focus heavy on the announcements, and they had quite a few of those. So some of my highlights from the show, one of them being Sea of Solitude, is coming to the Nintendo Switch as an updated director's cut. So that's coming exclusively to the Switch on March 4th, 2021. So that's a game that I haven't played yet. So I'm pretty excited for that one. Another one, of course, Perfect Dark is coming to Xbox. We don't know how soon yet. I don't think we got a release window for that. I'm not sure. But Daniel really popped off on that, so I'll let him have the floor on this one.
Yes, I was so excited when they announced this. Obviously, that has been the rumor for a long time, as we've talked about before, that Initiative was making a new Perfect Dark game. But yes, when they announced that, I was freaking flipping out because it was just awesome. And the funny thing is, like, watching back on my reaction, like, there's certain points like in the hallway when the turret is shooting at you and you do like the spin, that's like Perfect Dark, like classic right there. The turret is very reminiscent of the design of the original game's turrets. So right there I was like, what? Wait, what? And I was like, I want to say Perfect Dark, but I'm not going to say it because if I'm wrong, I'm going to look like an idiot. So I let the trailer keep going, and then they showed the Datadyne logo, and I was like, oh my God. But I couldn't remember Datadyne specifically, the name, because it's been 20 years since the game came out. I'm like, I know that's a Perfect Dark logo, but I don't know what the name of the company is. Other people said, oh, that's the Perfect Dark logo. No, it's not the Perfect Dark logo. It's the Datadyne logo. But that moment, I was like, holy shit. And then they pan into the silenced pistol on the ground. That was what I was like, okay, I'm ready to commit to this. It has to be Perfect Dark. And then they pan up and it's freaking, Joanna Dark. Yes. And then they show Perfect Dark. I was so excited. Yeah. So I'm just excited to see what the initiative can do with like a quadruple A, so to speak, version of Perfect Dark, like espionage spy game. I don't know. So exciting. Sean, are you excited about Perfect Dark?
Well, as you and I talked, I don't get the hype around Perfect Dark, but that's only because I don't like the fact that everyone thinks this is an amazing series. It had a great game on the 64 and a poor game on the 360. That doesn't make for a great series. I'm sorry, it's not a great series. Now, does it have the potential? Probably. It probably does have the potential, especially with somebody like Initiative kind of getting a hold of it and probably being allowed to do essentially what they want to do, more or less with that character. Because Joanna Dark is, you know the name, kind of, but you know nothing about her. I mean, back in the 64, there wasn't really too much to go dive into that type of stuff. It was obviously made off the 007 engine, and that's why it was out so quickly when it was released on the 64. So I think giving them time and seeing what could become of it, I think you should be hopeful for it, but I would not start praising it. If you want to praise something, is praise what 2022 through 2024 is going to look like for the Xbox. I think that's what you should start praising. I think it's going to take some time, and we all talked about this, but I think that is another announcement that I think should get people hyped for continuing to see the Series X and Series S come into fruition as far as what it could be.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Them having Perfect Dark as an exclusive will be definitely, obviously, good for the console. And as Sean was saying, that 2022, 2024, that's the time where you'll be seeing some of these exclusives come to fruition that have been announced, but they're finally coming out. So that'll be exciting. I'll just throw the question back out to you, though, Sean. Are there any highlights from the Game Awards that I might have missed that spoke to you? Anything in the announcements that kind of stood out?
So, announcement-wise, Sephiroth.
Yes.
That's a pretty big deal in my mind because, I mean, if there is an RPG villain that everybody knows, like Daniel's never played Final Fantasy in his life.
Nope.
He knows who Sephiroth is.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Roro can attest to this on the live stream. I was like, I have no idea who this is, and actually, his camera like froze at that moment. So I was like sitting there like, I don't know who this character is, and I can't. He talked to Roro right now, and I'm sure he knows who it is.
That is beyond disappointing. Now I can't believe you don't know who that is.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Well, anyways, like that, getting now 2 Final Fantasy VII characters in Smash, I think is huge. This is going to be now my reason to buy the pack. I've yet to buy the second season of Smash Ultimate. Just none of the characters really piqued my interest. I guess they really didn't even season 1 besides Banjo-Kazooie. But like this gets me hyped to go back into the game because I just loved Final Fantasy VII. Obviously, I bought the remake this year. I think as far as like other announcements, nothing too wild for me. I didn't watch it live, so I kind of just caught up to it online. The thing I will say is I get it. Last of Us 2, we all knew it was going to win a bunch of stuff. I feel like Ghost of Tsushima was overlooked drastically in a lot of categories. And honestly, I would say, hold on, I'm looking up his name now. The actor that played Miles Morales, I think he should have definitely gotten it. I mean, we saw as far as best performance over Laura Bailey, just because I know it was a short time we spent in that game, but I felt more connected to Miles Morales than I felt like I did Peter Parker in that 20-plus hour adventure in just that short amount of time. So I thought he deserved it overall. I like that Ghost got art direction, but personally for me, I thought it was a better narrative. I thought the score was just amazing, like just how subtle, but yet epic it always felt. I mean, right now that is really leaning towards my game of the year. And I feel like, yes, Naughty Dog does deserve a lot of accolades as they get it. Yeah, as divisive as we say Last of Us 2 is, but I won't remember 2020 as games for Last of Us Part 2. I will remember it at this point for Ghost of Tsushima or Hades or something like that. But I am glad Animal Crossing did not get it. Sorry, Roro.
No, I was like, I'm agree with everything Sean's saying, and then that's the last thing you got. No, how dare you? But I was going to ask you guys how you felt about The Last of Us actually taking the award. So now I know Sean's opinion. I feel like I know Daniel's opinion too with it.
For as little as Ghost as he spent compared to us.
Yeah, I think every award that The Last of Us won, I think I made a comment about Neil Druckmann doing what you know what he did.
Oh right, yeah, yeah. It's funny to look at how Ghost won Player's Choice, and then among critics, obviously, The Last of Us did better. But it's interesting that players are like, I think Ghost should be Game of the Year, and then critics think The Last of Us should be Game of the Year. So it's interesting to see that kind of difference as well. So yeah,
and I didn't get the anticipated game. Like Elden Ring looks cool, but like
Halo
really?
Infinite. Yeah.
Okay, Daniel, I'm actually going to defend you here.
Whoa!
And Halo Infinite and Breath of the Wild Part 2, God of War sequel are in there, but yet we say Elden Ring. Like
yeah.
I'm like, those 3 games right there are going to, just one of them alone is going to triple the sales of Elden Ring. So it's like, I don't know. That felt weird to me that won the game most anticipated.
Yeah. Moving on to the next story, Among Us has come to the Switch. And another announcement from the Game Awards, I believe, was Among Us is getting a new map. Was that at the...
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Okay.
It's like just a new ship, basically.
Yeah, the airship. So Among Us is on the Switch right now. I played a little bit of it on the Switch. I purchased it there, and I actually really like it. The only thing that I don't like, I've only played it in docked mode so far, so maybe this will be different if I were to play it docked. Or no, I only played it handheld. I think it might be different if I played it docked, but when I'm typing in the chat, I can't see what other people are saying, and that's just a personal preference. I kind of want to see what they're saying while I'm typing before I send the message. Just anxiety, all that kind of stuff. But I really like the port. I think it's really well done. There is actually a glitch where you can traverse the airship. It's nowhere done. There's some weird glitches going on if you were to get onto the map, but there is a way to get onto the airship map on the Switch. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But have you guys seen, or what do you guys think about this announcement? Are you guys going to play it on the Switch at all?
Yeah, I think that's surprising because I think we were talking about this again, Roro, before the Game Awards started. Like we were thinking, like maybe they would announce Among Us coming to consoles, like Xbox and PlayStation. But it was a little surprising that the Switch was their first place to go for that. But I guess it makes sense. It's definitely a platform. Yeah. It's definitely a platform that Epic has supported with Fortnite, obviously. So obviously that's going to translate to Among Us that isn't made by Epic Games. So I don't know. I don't know. It was surprising just because I don't know that, people are clamoring for this game on Switch. I feel like people are more clamoring for this game on Xbox and PlayStation personally, but I don't know. And you have to connect your 7 dongles to get the voice chat to work.
Yeah, probably. I haven't tried voice chat either, but I.
Does proximity chat, is that in the Switch version?
Not that I've seen so far. Again, I've only played like 1 or 2 matches so far. Gotcha. So there might be some settings that I haven't seen, maybe some game modes that is available like in the settings, and I just haven't checked it out yet. Yeah. But from what I can tell, no. But
gotcha.
Yeah, I should definitely jump back in to check it out.
Gotcha.
But Sean, have you played Among Us? Do you like?
I have not. I mean, obviously, I know it's the big, one of the big tent poles as far as conversation with games right now. So it is something that I'm interested in eventually when I have a life again. But at this moment, I don't see me putting into it. I know it's our topic of the show, but I feel like I have not touched Cyberpunk. You guys, it seems like you guys feel the same way. So I want to give that its due course for everything. I know we get a little bit of lull before like kind of big releases hit. I think the next big release for us is probably Resident Evil 8, since we don't have a release date on Ratchet and Clank or anything.
Yeah.
So it probably will be something I end up checking out at the end.
For sure. Moving on to the next story, Vin Diesel is in Ark, but not only is he in it, he's working on it, apparently. PC Gamer writes, Vin Diesel isn't only starring in Ark, he's also working on the game. So this is, again, from PC Gamer. The Fast and Furious star series star isn't just lending his looks, voice, and motion capture dino-slaying moves to Ark 2. Diesel's actually working on the game itself. According to a press release sent to PC Gamer, Vin Diesel has joined the studio Wildcard as an executive producer on Ark 2, and is also serving as an executive producer on the Ark animated series coming in 2022. And the name of his role is President of Creative Convergence. That is an interesting title. I don't even know what that means, but leave it to Vin Diesel to invent a new job title. So this is interesting. I feel like this is kind of following a weird, not pattern, but after Keanu being involved in Cyberpunk, now Vin Diesel is going to be involved in Ark. I feel like Vin Diesel has a more in-depth role at Studio Wildcard than Keanu at CD Projekt Red, but I think this is weird but interesting.
Well, it's not his first foray either. He was heavily involved in the 2 Riddick games as well, and served as a producer on those. And he was the one that actually not only just did his own motion capture, but directed those scenes that he was performing as well. So honestly, if there's a celebrity in games you want to trust, I actually can I'm not an Ark person, but I would lean towards Vin Diesel's going to put his time into whatever he can do to assist and make Ark 2 better than ever.
All right. Well, I didn't know that. I guess he has his experience in video game dev a little. Maybe it isn't as weird as I thought. That's pretty cool. It's just that Vin Diesel is such a strange guy that when I see he's involved in video games, I'm just like, whoa, that I didn't see that coming, but never mind. That, I guess it makes more sense than I thought.
you see that, Roro, and you expect to see the Fast and the Furious game that was just ugly, awful.
So true.
Yeah.
Moving on. Sorry, go ahead.
Riddick games, as far as like on OG Xbox, that's where I played it at first, were tremendous games. Like, I mean, Daniel, I think we've talked about this before, but that was one of the first games that I can remember being a first-person game in stealth, it really working. And I know Ark kind of melds first and third person, but I don't know. I see this as a win for Ark fans in general. One, you get to have a story, and I don't know if they're clamoring for it, but it seems like that would be great to have. Yeah. And then two, you get an actor that you know is not going to screw with your property. He's going to try to enhance it the best way he can.
Yeah. Roro, real quick before we move on, 3 other games I want to highlight from the Game Awards, because all these games we've talked about are from Game Awards. Back 4 Blood, which came right after the Perfect Dark announcement, looks so good. It's basically Left 4 Dead. The Callisto Protocol, which is essentially the Dead Space reimagining from Glenn Schofield's team, and the new Mass Effect. All 3 of those, super excited for. All of them were pretty, I guess with the exception of Back 4 Blood, the other 2 were kind of just heavily teased, I guess. They weren't really shown a whole lot, but I'm excited about all 3 of them. Sean?
I'd be wary on Mass Effect.
What about Callisto Protocol from the people who made Dead Space?
Yeah, so that one, I'm glad you said that, because honestly, I totally spaced on that. I did watch that video. That looked cool. Yes. That really looks cool. I mean, I think we've talked about on the show many times of our love for Dead Space and Visceral games in general. Don't forget they are Xbox Game Pass if you do want to play them now with all the EA stuff. But to have a spiritual successor to those and hopefully carry on in that same vein with the isolation, but action too, I can only think of great things with that.
And Roro, me and you are going to be playing Back 4 Blood. Alpha starts tomorrow.
Starts tomorrow, yes.
Is it PC?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. You guys have fun.
Yeah.
PC Master Race people, Jesus.
I'm definitely excited to try it out. I did like my time with Left 4 Dead. I played a little bit of it recently with a buddy, and it's like it's pretty good. It's pretty fun. It's impressive that it's lasted so long. So I'm excited to try what's new.
Yes.
Yeah. Moving on to the next story. EA buys Codemasters, stealing it from Take-Two, farting from Polygon. Electric Arts will buy Codemasters for $1.2 billion, overtaking an earlier bid by Take-Two Interactive to acquire the racing video games developer and publisher. So, yeah, I don't know if this was foreseen, if there were signs on the wall saying that this might happen, but it's kind of out of last minute kind of deal, I thought. But now they have the Dirt series, F1 for its F1 Dirt series, and the Grid franchises and stuff like that. That's all EA's now, so it makes me question if those games are going to continue, or are they going to have Codemasters work on something else. What do you guys think about this acquisition?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because we talked about 2K, being interested in purchasing them, 2 weeks ago or last week? I can't remember. But yeah, EA just swoops in and says, here's some more money. We'll take you. Which I think it's kind of weird. It feels like a weird fit for EA because they already have racing studios that are already, there. They already have Criterion Games, which obviously they're well known for the Need for Speed franchise. They have, I believe they still have Ghost Games, which had recently started making the newer Need for Speed games, as Criterion was kind of on the back burner. They were kind of a support studio for a little bit, but now they're back on Need for Speed. So I don't know. It's kind of an interesting fit because I feel like they didn't even necessarily need a racing studio, but maybe it was more just they're trying to steal something from 2K. I don't know.
Well, not only that, but and I don't know how you guys are thinking, but to me, it really shows the evolution of games. Disney paid, what was it, like $3 billion for Marvel and like something like around the same for Star Wars. Codemasters is then considered in the grand scheme of things like a third of the worth of Lucasfilm properties and stuff like that, which seems very odd in my mind because I've never played a dirt game. I don't know if you guys have or not. I never have.
No.
And I don't look at that as a franchise or racing thing that's up there with like Gran Turismo or Horizon, that type of stuff, or Need for Speed. And it's just flabbergasted me to think like, okay, that franchise in and of itself apparently sells so well that that's what it's kind of considered.
No, I haven't played Dirt myself. I've heard good things about that particular racing game property, so I know that one's good. But like Sean was saying, it is crazy how the industry has evolved and how much worth they are putting on these companies now, especially with Bethesda just a couple of months ago with Microsoft, like how much that is worth to them. It's interesting to see that a studio that isn't as huge as Bethesda is, breaking in the cash right now as well. So that's definitely interesting.
Yeah. So
moving on to the next story, Fortnite Spy Within mode is basically Among Us coming from GameSpot I'm reading from. The mode has 10 players broken up into 2 teams, 8 agents, and 2 spies. The agents must try to complete their objectives before getting killed by the spies. The spies need to eliminate agents while remaining undetected. Sound familiar? Yeah, it definitely does. I thought this was an interesting story because Fortnite this is kind of what they did to become big in the first place. I know this isn't going to be a main mode that sticks around, but the Battle Royale thing was something that they kind of stole or saw PUBG do and was doing well, and then they decided to do it themselves, and now they're doing it the best. So I thought this was an interesting story that they are trying the Among Us formula because Among Us is so popular right now. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree, Roro. And if anyone was confused as to where I was going with my Epic Games comment before, I was attempting to do that, and I was like, wait a minute, that's not the next story, so I should probably try to retract that real quick. So, yeah. But, yeah, it's interesting. They're trying to copy, I guess, the success of Among Us, and I guess Among Us doesn't want to release on Xbox and PlayStation, so I guess Fortnite's like, hey, here, we got something. Just come play Fortnite. We've got Marvel skins. We've got, Master Chief. I mean, who needs anything else?
You mean Kratos?
Master Chief.
Yeah, Kratos.
Master Chief.
Kratos, that's fine.
But this mode is actually a creative mode. So this is a mode that's a fan actually made, and then Fortnite is just kind of promoting it a little bit more, which is something that they don't usually do for creative modes. Like they do in the game, but to do outside of the game and putting in on Twitter and stuff like that isn't something that they usually do. So I did think that this was a little bit more in your face than usual. But yeah, that's Fortnite mode. Do you guys plan on trying that out, the Spies Within mode in Fortnite?
I might check it out just because I'm kind of intrigued, like how it works. I haven't really seen a whole lot about it. I saw like a quick video of people playing it, but I was like confused as to what was happening. So yeah, I might check it out just to kind of see what's going on with it and how it's different than Among Us, because I'm sure it has its own twists and everything. But I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
Sean probably won't touch it because he's never played Fortnite in his entire life. Yeah.
You are 1,000% correct. If the Marvel and Star Wars stuff did not get me to play that game, nothing is getting me to play that game.
That's true.
Moving on to our next story, Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo team up for safer gaming. How nice. Nintendo, Sony, and Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony released a statement across all three of their respective websites and platforms on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. And they called it our shared commitment to safer gaming. So the trio posted a three-pronged approach to ensuring their platforms are a safer place for gamers of all ages. First is prevention, which involves educating parents and players about parental safety controls, keeping them informed about terms of use, codes of conduct, and enforcement tools. The second is partnership, working together with players, law enforcement, industry regulators, and gaming communities to advance user safety. And finally is responsibility, which involves complying with laws, giving players proper reporting tools, and making sure everyone is aware of each company's code of conduct. So I thought this was kind of cool that they are all coming together to promote a similar message of safer gaming and making it a less toxic place, the gaming world in general. I don't know how effective this is going to be, but it's cool to see the companies come together and just share that they don't want any toxicity on their platforms. We'll see what kind of things they put into place on their actual platforms to combat toxicity. But I thought this was a really cool coming together story from the big three.
Yeah, and I think it's not even necessarily just toxicity, if I could say the word. I think it's also like in terms of like, child safety. Like you have children who play on these consoles and interact with other people online, and how does that, how are you protecting that child from, being manipulated by someone online in order to, get them to do something, or something happens. I feel like that's still something that they need to, essentially build some kind of platform to help protect that. And it seems like this is kind of a first step for that. So yes, absolutely. For the toxicity aspect, it's great. And also for trying to protect people. And I think that's kind of why they referenced law enforcement as well, for like situations like that where children are being manipulated by online games, because this world continues to evolve, and unfortunately so do the creeps and predators and all of that. So I definitely think this is a good step forward for that, at least.
Yeah, I just obviously would caution the other two being in a online capacity with Nintendo, because they might set them back a few years with everything. But I mean, good for them. This isn't the first time that they've come out with partnership. Last Game Awards, they did the same thing, where the three big came out together.
That was 2 Game Awards ago.
So even though they're in...
We're losing Sean. We're losing you, Sean. Hello? Sean? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Okay, now we can hear you.
Go back.
You're
Here?
back. You're
Yes,
back.
there we go.
I don't. You guys keep dropping out on me too. It's so weird.
Yeah.
But I think as far as like maybe it's a little less for the protection of the community, but more for the longevity of gaming in general. I mean, we're now past 2 generations of consoles being dead, as analysts predicted. So we're waiting until next week for them to say console gaming's dead again. But I think to increase the longevity, they all 3 have to coexist, and I think this is the best way to continue for them all 3 to coexist.
Definitely. Well, moving on to the next story, Google Stadia is on the iOS starting today. Google Stadia has finally made its way onto iOS after a year of launch. The company's mobile web beta for the iPhone and iPad, first announced last month, is launching today. That means any Stadia user on either its free tier or its paid Stadia Pro subscription will be able to access their library of Stadia games on Apple devices. So this is working the same way that Xbox said it will have to bypass Apple's crazy restrictions. So you have to go on to Safari, go to the Stadia website, and access your games from there instead of having an actual app. Again, because of Apple's restrictions, they can't do that right now. They do have an app, but it doesn't allow you to access the games and play games and stuff like that. So I thought this was really cool, coming out before Xbox does. I don't know if this will help them, but this is good that it's available for those players that are on there. I will be talking about Stadia when we talk about Cyberpunk later. That's a little bit of a hint for later. But yeah, what do you guys think about Google Stadia and it coming to the iOS, and if this will help them in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I still struggle with the whole business proposition, so to speak, of Stadia, because I think we've talked about this before, where you're paying the subscription and then you're buying the games as well on top of that. Whereas the Amazon Luna has kind of done a channels approach, and Xbox game streaming is just you're buying the subscription and you get access to the Game Pass games. So I think it's interesting that they're doing this, but I'm just not sure about the longevity of Stadia, just because I don't know that there's a lot of people out there clamoring saying, I want to play Stadia as opposed to playing something else. And it's kind of different than what Xbox and Amazon Luna is doing, because Luna's trying to appeal to literally anyone because they're such a big company. Amazon can market this to hundreds of millions of users that they have. And yes, Google has hundreds of millions as well, but I think Stadia is trying to push more people from consoles and PC to Stadia, and I don't think that's the right approach. I think the right approach for these streaming services is to try to get more people that weren't necessarily playing games before into playing games. And I just don't know how much Stadia is actually going to do that, is my only thing. But it's definitely interesting, and it's cool that they kind of got this workaround, just like you said, like Xbox is working on. So, yeah.
I mean, I will say Xbox or Microsoft in general has the better model of all 3, in my opinion. As someone, I don't have the other 2, excuse me, but the fact is that even before my Xbox Series X purchase, I didn't really play my Xbox One, but I never felt the need to cancel the subscription because of the constant barrage of games that are added. And I know they've said that they were going to, but it feels like very rare they take a game off of there at this point. So, I mean, I don't see a reason why not to have that at this point, but Stadia is a non-factor. I mean, it really is. I hate to be. It's been out for over a year now, and no one talks about it. No, I don't know a single person that actually owns any of the devices or anything like that. And it might be different in a city environment, but it's not something that took the market by storm. I don't hear about any of the exclusives that they said they were going to have. I mean, they had the deal with Assassin's Creed when it first launched. Nothing happened with Valhalla. So it's really not a factor. I mean, if you want to be excited, get excited for Flight Simulator coming to Series X in a few weeks. That's about it.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on to the next story, kind of a short one, but just a little update here for EA Play on Game Pass has been delayed for PC. So it was originally coming out, I believe, this month on PC. When we originally set out to write this blog post, this is I'm reading from Xbox News. When we originally set out to write this blog post, which would announce the availability of EA Play on PC with Game Pass, it looked a bit different. Unfortunately, what had been a celebratory post is now one asking for a little bit more patience. We made the decision to delay until 2021 the release of EA Play on PC as part of Game Pass for PC and Ultimate memberships. They still established a partnership with EA, and they're looking to bring the experience to us as soon as possible. Early next year is what they said. So just a little update on the EA Play situation for PC. That's where I have Game Pass on PC. So I was looking forward to EA Play coming to PC because there's a couple of games on there that I definitely want to try out that I don't really feel comfortable purchasing at this point. I just want to try them and see if they are speaking to me. So I'm excited for when this arrives eventually. Do you guys think there's any particular reason for this delay? I know some people were speculating EA Origin being something that they kind of want to work around and not have Xbox players have to deal with, but I don't know what could have caused the delay.
Yeah, I would imagine it's because EA is having to develop Windows Store specific versions of their games because obviously with Game Pass, I think thus far, everything that's come out with Game Pass, you have to have a Windows Store version. That's how Game Pass accesses the games and gives you access to them. So essentially they would have to re-release, Madden, whatever, on Windows Store as opposed to on Steam or on Origin, because it's completely different infrastructure. I believe that's the case with EA Play as well, coming to Game Pass on PC. I haven't really seen anything 100%, but that's what I would imagine is causing the delay, just because all those developers have to create this new Windows Store version of the game. And it isn't as simple as file save as Windows Store.
Right. True. All right. Well, moving on to the next story is GOG and Devotion. So Devotion is a horror game. GOG is a platform where you can purchase games, and this company is owned by CD Projekt Red, so they're not having the greatest week right now. This story I'm pulling from Polygon. This is written by Nicole Carpenter, and I'm just going to give you a little backstory about Devotion here. Devotion was removed from Steam shortly after its release in February 2019. After the meme critical of Chinese President Xi Jinping, did I say that right?
She, yeah, pronounced like her, so she.
Oh,
That's how you
Xi
pronounce it.
Jinping, thank you, which compared his likeness to Winnie the Pooh, and he does not like that very much. And it was discovered in the game. Chinese players began review bombing the game on Steam before Devotion was eventually pulled for quote-unquote complete QA check, the developer said at the time. The game never returned. Red Candle Games has apologized multiple times for its critical and unprofessional error that angered Chinese players. So the backstory, Devotion, it was a great horror game, according to the people who did get to play it. It was really good. People really enjoyed it. And it was only on Steam for 6 days, so a lot of people didn't get to enjoy it and didn't get to play it. So recently, Red Candle Games announced that they are going to be re-releasing the game on GOG, the company that is owned by CD Projekt Red. And it was literally today, I think, when this was announced on their Twitter. And literally hours later, GOG came out and said, this is their quote on Twitter, earlier today, it was announced that the game Devotion is coming to GOG. After receiving many messages from gamers, we have decided not to list this game in our store. So it never came to GOG, even though it was announced earlier that day that it was. So obviously gamers were very upset about this happening. So it's just interesting to me that not even hours pass and then this deal is not happening anymore. It shouldn't have even gotten this far, in my opinion, for them to announce it. And then we shouldn't have even known about this story, in my opinion. This should have never happened because it's crazy that it got this far, I think.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think about this story? Do you think that gamers were the ones who sent these messages to GOG, or a little something else, maybe?
Yeah, I think this is a tricky situation because, there's always some other motivations behind it, and it does seem a little bit weird that, like, this morning they said that the game's coming, and then 2 hours later or whatever, they say, oh, we're pulling it because a ton of gamers are telling us that they don't want it. Well, it doesn't sound really kosher, because if CD Projekt Red, for instance, was saying, Cyberpunk's coming out today, and then 2 hours later they put out a tweet saying, oh, we're not releasing Cyberpunk 2077 because we've heard a bunch of people don't like Cyberpunk. Like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That it definitely seems like it's something politically motivated in terms of, like, Chinese government having an influence and a hand in Americans' First Amendment rights. And obviously CD Projekt Red is a Polish company, and the GOG is based in Poland, but I don't know, man. Something doesn't feel right about it. I don't.
Yeah. Red Candle Games is a Taiwanese company, though, so they are.
Okay.
Yeah, they are over there. So I could understand a little bit more as to why this happened, but at the same time, I don't think it's right. Sean, what do you think about this story?
Well, the political climate as far as Taiwan and China is not good. Yeah. I mean, obviously the U.S. did not help that by recognizing Taiwan's independence and getting involved in that whole thing. Whatever. But I mean, yeah, it's a known quantity that Xi Jinping should not be compared to Winnie the Pooh. If you're curious why, watch a clip of John Oliver. It'll explain a lot there with a lot of comedy. But it's just, I don't think it's gamers or anything like that. It's probably more the government. They heavily censor after that stuff. Even if it's something that's not going to be popular, they're going to figure out a way to, curtail that and figure out a way to protect him as a president who is more of a dictator. But whatever. Yeah. I don't want us to get freaking banned as well.
Try and ban us.
We're allowed in China. But I don't know. It's such a stupid thing. I mean, what, Monster Hunter just got pulled from Chinese theaters as well, and those are the only theaters that were really open. So I mean, it's just the censorship is very, very different than it is on the West side. Or Western world. Like, sorry, we're not in the West side. But yeah, just an odd thing, and you just gotta pretty much walk on ice. But maybe we'll at least get it and see what it looks like.
Yeah, hopefully someday they're able to re-release it somewhere. We don't even know if they did remove the meme that was in the game because we never got to play it. So they could have corrected not a mistake, but they could have removed it just to so they wouldn't have to run into trouble like this. We don't really know the reason that it was pulled again. Maybe China got wind that it was being re-released, and they're like, no, even though they did make changes to it, and then it could be released without issue. But I guess we will never know, or hopefully we will know someday, but not now. Moving on to the next story, which Sean asked me to put in before the show. Scott Pilgrim is coming on January 14th. So this, of course, is a game that has been in the vault for a very long time. It's finally being re-released in January 14th on a bunch of consoles, PS4, I believe next gen as well, Switch. So that's coming next year. Sean, you're obviously very excited for this one, or you've played the game, of course, right?
Oh yeah. I still have it on my base PS3.
Oh, nice.
That, just like Daniel, even though he sold his PS4, had PT. That is a game I'll never delete. I am very much looking forward to going back to it. Amazing music. It's actually, all the music is done by a chiptune band called Anamanaguchi, which they're one of the most infamous chiptune bands. It follows more the comic story than, say, the movie, but just a amazing beat 'em up. Like, really one of the best that's released probably in the last 20 years. If you have a chance to purchase it. It's just great that this is a game that was lost to licenses. Just like, I mean, everyone loves Spider-Man 2 from Activision. that's lost to licenses. Like, it's just great to see some of those things that are able to come back for people.
Definitely, yeah. I'm excited to pick it up myself because I have not played it. So I am definitely going to pick it up when it has arrived. And our last story for PXN News of the Week is Alba Wildlife Adventure and Ecology, I think is what, or Ecology, but it's spelled with an I instead of a Y at the end. So they teamed up. Alba Wildlife Adventure is a cute little indie game that I picked up on Friday, and I really enjoyed it. It only took me like 4 hours to beat, and it's really nice. It's about saving an island from just preserving the nature and the habitats and stuff like that. It's a really cute game. You guys should definitely check it out. But I think the even more awesome thing is that they took their message in the game and tried to kind of apply it to the real world. So again, they have partnered with Ecology, and every time you purchase or download the game, they plant a tree. And they have a goal of planting 1 million trees. So far, I think they're at like 200,000 or something like that. Wow. So I thought this was really cool. They took their message to heart, and they're actually trying to make a real world change outside of the video game as well. So I thought this was really cool. I don't know if you guys have heard about this game or not, but if you haven't, I would suggest checking it out for sure because it's really cool.
Yeah, I hadn't, but that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, moving on to what we've been playing. I shall start off with myself. I have been playing Destiny 2 a little bit. They have the new, I guess I should say, of course, I'm playing Destiny 2. They have the Dawning right now, the Christmas event. So we're baking little cookies and treats for all the Destiny NPCs and getting rewards for it, whether it be rewards that we like is another conversation altogether. But I'm having a good time doing that. I got the new ship, the new Sparrow, and I'm just hunting just trying to complete the quest to customize those different items. So that's what I've been doing in Destiny. I mentioned it before. I play Alba, a Wildlife Adventure. Really enjoyed that. It just took me literally the day that I bought it, I finished it and completed it to completion. Wow. It was super awesome, super chill. You're basically a young girl named Alba who's visiting her grandparents on a Mediterranean island. She goes there every year for her annual visit to see her family. And when she arrives, she meets her cousin Ines, and they form like a wildlife rescue team after they save a beach dolphin. They find it's their calling, so they decide to do that. And basically, you're cleaning up the island, helping animals, helping townsfolk, and trying to gather petitions to stop the mayor from building a huge luxury hotel on the nature reserve on the island. So I thought it was really cute. It's really fun to play. So I definitely recommend checking it out for not only it being a fun time, but the reason that I mentioned before with it actually helping the real world as well. And of course, Cyberpunk, which we'll get into later. So I won't say anything about it too much here, but yeah, I played Cyberpunk as well.
Cool. Yeah. I have been playing, obviously, Master Chief Collection. We don't need to go over that a millionth time, but I've also been playing Cyberpunk as well. So far, I think I'm about 3 to 4 hours into it, and it's not as much as I had expected, especially since I took 2 days off of work, but I had a bunch of other things going on as well. But 3 to 4 hours in, and I might be a little more than that. I might not be giving myself a little credit, but so far I'm enjoying it. And we will talk about, the problems and stuff like that. It definitely, the way it started, it wasn't, when I started the game, I was like, all right, this is good. But it didn't necessarily wow me right off the bat. But as I've played it on longer, there's a certain moment you get to in the story, which I'm not going to spoil it for people, but when you get to that moment, it picks up the pace quite a bit. And once you get to that moment, it's like, okay, yes, this is really good now. Like, I feel like before that moment, I was like, okay, this is good. But then after that moment, I'm really, really enjoying my time with it. So I'm definitely excited to continue my playthrough. Sean, what are you playing?
So we'll go into Cyberpunk here in a little bit. It is very weird that there is a game that all three of us for once have in common.
Yeah.
I don't think that's happened ever.
Yeah. And just think, it was supposed to be Halo Infinite this fall. We would all three be playing, right?
Right.
All right. Well, silent. I'll take it easy, guys. So yeah, we'll talk about that. But I'm still actually trucking away at night on Hollow Knight, doing a second playthrough on that. I'm trying to do it, so I never got like the, I guess you could say the good ending, though there is really no good ending because you die no matter what. But I fought two of
Spoilers.
the DLC. Spoilers. I did fight two bosses that I never fought before, and that was from the free DLC. And I will say, as far as indie games go, and I know I've given a lot of praise to Team Cherry in the past, but like all their DLC was always free, regardless of what copy of you bought the game. And the amount that they put into it really reminds me of like Shovel Knight. Like just Shovel Knight kept giving you more and more content, all that stuff. Like I don't know, I just think that's a really cool thing that even after 2 years of owning the game, I was able to experience new things that I never had before. And it's just because I didn't go back when they updated with new DLC. So just really cool. I mean, obviously, I know it's kind of not your guys' too much cup of tea because it is a little Soulsy mixed with some Metroidvania stuff, but still loving it. I like that I kind of play it for like 30 minutes here or there.
I actually did pick up. Well, I picked Hollow Knight up a while ago, but I'm actually trying it out recently, and I am enjoying it. I haven't gotten too far into it because, like you said, it's not usually a game that I play. But from what I've played so far, it's starting to click. Definitely gotten a little bit further into it, so I am enjoying it a lot. It's okay if what you said earlier. I knew how it ended and all that stuff. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos about it because I did think it was cool. But I'm actually playing it for the first time now, so I'm enjoying it as well. I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't play that much of it.
You'll have a lot of hours on there. My first playthrough took me about like, I think 35 hours or something like that, and I'm already at altogether maybe 24 hours, and I'm not even close to halfway.
Oh, there we go. I'm excited to dive more into that a little bit later. Have to be after this next topic of the show, though, Cyberpunk 2077. So a lot has happened, again, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the show, since it's released. Some good, mostly bad. So we're going to talk about everything that has happened surrounding the game. But we're going to start off with our thoughts and impressions of the game. I'll start with Sean, actually. How far have you got into the game, and are you enjoying it? What do you think?
That's a really loaded question. So I'm probably maybe 2.5 hours in. I said before, as far as just work wise, this is my time of year, basically not to have a life, so I haven't been able to give it a chance really. But so far, I'm really in the same boat that Daniel was describing, where it's like, I think I like it. I'm pretty sure I like it, but I'm not like falling head over heels in it. Like I remember the first time I played Deus Ex on PC, I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. Like all this stuff that you can do and all that stuff. I'm not really feeling that yet with Cyberpunk, but from what people have told me and what I've seen, I have yet to even scratch the surface. There's so much more that it opens up with. I will say I like so far the story. What did you guys all choose as far as your starters?
Corpo.
I've played the beginning twice now, so I chose Corpo and Street Kid the second time. I enjoyed Street Kid a bit more than Corpo.
Okay, so I went with Daniel. I went with Corpo because I know that's what we were talking about before the launch of everything. So it was kind of weird how they thrusted you into that part of the story. I don't know if Street Kid does a little better introduction. It just felt a little odd and out of place. Like Jackie's just your friend on the street. That's all you know. Like, and then like you get a better relationship with them, but they were just odd. I will say the voice acting so far I'm really liking. The character models look pretty good, even at NPCs. And I know technically we're all playing on a quote unquote last gen version, not fully maxed out at all, but it does look beautiful. I see so much stuff happening in the background. I like that the decisions you make. That first mission, the pickup, at least in Corpo, I don't know if all the missions follow the same thing depending on what level or what you choose at the beginning, but I did like the different angles that I could choose from the pickup, where I don't know how you guys went with it, but like I met with that the girl that pretty much screwed up the deal and lost the transport. I got her credits, and then I was like, oh, I have the option to hack her credits. Well, okay, let's do that. So then I have an extra 10K. Well, then the the guy that I'm supposed to go pick it up for wants to charge me again, and I was gonna pay him until unfortunately I ran into a glitch where he randomly ran into me while I was sitting. So immediately my guy stands up. He sees that I stood up, so he starts shooting at me, and so I'm just like, okay, well I guess I'm taking the money. But I just like how, just judging from that mission alone, I can see so many angles that Roro you go from, Daniel you go from, and then I go in a completely different direction, and I like that kind of openness to how we all can approach something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that mission you're describing, Sean, I agree. That was really cool, because I was like, what do I do here? Do I do this? And that's like, there's no right decision. It's just whatever you want to do to kind of make it your own story, which is very cool. Those moments are the coolest parts. But yeah, like I already said, I'm enjoying it. And as I said, it kind of started slower, and I was kind of like, I wasn't crazy about the intro, like you said, Sean, with the whole Corpo intro. I'm thinking maybe if I go back and start as the one that's on the outskirts, I can't think of the name of it. Nomad. Yeah, I'm thinking about trying that at some point, seeing how that starts, because I think it'd be a little more interesting, and see like how that differs. But as I've played more and more of it, I've enjoyed more and more of it. So I do think I will really enjoy it by the time I sink so many hours into it. Obviously, we're just not there yet. I'm only like 4 or 5 hours in. But yeah, we'll talk about the criticisms here in a little bit as well, like some of the issues. But I feel like, to a certain extent, I hate saying this, but I almost feel like CD Projekt Red is getting even more hate than necessarily they should. Yes, the game is broken on multiple platforms. There's a lot of bugs. There's a lot of problems. But I feel like there's so much like hatred. Whereas normally you would see a game come out and you'd be like, okay, there's criticisms. Here's the criticisms. Like, this is what I'd like to see addressed, and this is what I would like to see fixed. I think the reason why we're seeing so much hatred towards this game is because of how much anticipation there was for the game, that so many people had such high expectations that when it came out having these problems, people were like, oh, this is awful. And, all of the problems that have, succumbed due to the issues. I don't know. I guess that's just my personal feeling, because I talked to one of my friends on Twitter about it, and he was like, yeah, but I love CD Projekt Red, but this is unacceptable, and I will never buy anything from them again. And it's like, that's just a little too far. I don't know. I just feel like sometimes we forget that these are real people that are developing these games, and there's real consequences, and I don't know. And it's not the developers' decisions. It's not the people that are coding this game, designing this game, and making art for this game that are making the decision that the game's coming out, even with these issues. And there are a lot of problems with the game, but I think the biggest problem is the pre-launch stuff, where they weren't allowing people to see what the base consoles looked like before launch, because clearly that's the biggest problem with the game right now.
Yeah, definitely. I'll just go into my impressions real quick, and then we'll talk about the issues that you brought up just now. I played it on Steam for the first time. I played Corpo. That's what I started off with, and I'm at the same boat as you guys. I thought that intro a little strange. I didn't like how that started off my journey that well. But beyond that, it wasn't running very well on my setup. So I played the amount that I could before I exceeded my time limit to get a refund, because I was like, there's no way I can continue playing this the way it is right now. I'm not getting the best experience that I know I can get on hopefully different platforms, just before everything came out, before all the stuff and the criticism and news came out around it not being the best on other platforms. So I returned it on Steam after playing it there, and then the news came out that it wasn't better on these other places either. So this is going to blow your guys' mind, but I signed up for Google Stadia.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw that it was good. It's good there, so I was like, okay, let me try the free trial. I got my money back for it on Steam. I'll use that money to buy it on Stadia, just to see if it's better. And it was better. It was a lot better. It's crazy that it worked and looked and ran better on the same system that I was using just a minute ago, but it just ran better. It looked a lot better. So I was surprised by that, and I played Street Kid there, and I love that intro a lot better. You don't know Jackie right off the bat. You meet him throughout the intro, and it's a little bit more organic, I found, and the relationship kind of blossoms a little bit more naturally, I think. Still pretty fast, but a little bit more. I just enjoyed that intro a little bit better. So I think when I do go back to it, I'm going to continue that. I did refund it again on Stadia after my 2-hour run because, again, it was like, this is better. But I know there are people out there who are getting the full treatment, and I want to get the full treatment with this game because I am enjoying it. I love the dialogue options. I love the RPG aspect, the customization, and all that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. The combat and driving, however, were a little bit off to me for some reason. I don't know why I didn't like that. I was hoping to like that a little bit more, but I didn't like the shooting, didn't like the driving that much. I'm hoping as I get more weapons and more upgrades, I'll fall into it a little bit more. But so right now I'm kind of two people coming to this game. I'm very 50-50 on it right now. So I want to like it. I like parts. I don't like other parts. I just hope that they get it together so I can enjoy this game a little bit more. And as I say, get it together, let's talk about what happened after the release of the game. CD Projekt issued an apology to their fans after everybody got really upset with how it was running on last-gen systems and honestly, PCs that weren't the top of the line were having a lot of bugs as well. And they said the first round of updates has been released and the next are coming in the next 7 days. Expect more as we will update frequently whenever new improvements are ready. After the holidays, we'll continue working. Release 2 large patches starting with patch number 1 in January and patch number 2 in February. They go on to say, if you just take a chance on us, we will make this right and all that jazz. So I thought this was I'm not going to read the entire thing because it's pretty long and we'll be here a while. But I thought the apology was kind of weird. It was weirded a little weird as well. And I think I listened to Kind of Funny Games Daily, or it was either Kind of Funny Games Daily or another one of their podcasts where Greg says, we took a chance on you a little when we bought the game. Like, this is not the time for us to be taking a chance. We already took the chance. After everything that you showed us, okay, I'm going to give you the money. I'm going to take a chance on this game. And then you delivered a product that wasn't what you showed. And I think that's why everybody's so upset, Daniel, is that they showed us something completely different. And not completely different for everyone. PC is getting what they bought, the ones who have the high-end stuff. But people like me and people are playing on PS4 are not getting what they were advertised. And they didn't even let us see that stuff until it finally came out. Like, the IGN had to separate their reviews for this game because the PS4 versions and the Xbox One's versions are just so much different than the other versions and the ones that are running a appropriate way. So I thought that was kind of weird how they messaged this. Yeah.
Which is completely fair. And like, just to think, if this game had come out in April when it was originally supposed to come out, and we were all playing on those platforms, that definitely would have warped my mind for sure, because obviously we would have been playing on I would have been playing on Xbox One and it would have been painful. So yes, it all depends on your perspective, because like on Series X, I haven't had many issues at all, like for the most part, and it actually looks pretty good considering it's running technically a last-gen version of the game. It actually looks pretty good, even without the next-gen patches. But yeah, like you said, there's hundreds of millions of people that have Xbox Ones and PS4s that are trying to play the game, and it's almost unplayable, which, yes, that definitely needs to be criticized. And that's something that I think they know that it wasn't acceptable for them to do that, but I just wonder what happened behind the scenes. Like, did the guys in suits say, "Hey, we have to release this game on this date. We've already delayed 3 times. It has to come out no matter what, even if it's in a poor state." And I do just think it's unfortunate that the developers at CD Projekt Red kind of they get the brunt of all of this backlash because they're the ones who made the game, obviously, but it wasn't necessarily their decision to not push the game back for an unfinished product. But yeah, it's not good all the way around, and it's just such a tricky situation. And obviously, the whole refund issue is a whole nother beast as well, which I think that's what we'll be talking about here next. But yeah. I'm not even sure how CD Projekt Red is going to handle the refund issue, because they've been talking about like them making it good and all of this, but like I don't think there's a precedent for a developer of a video game giving refunds directly to consumers. Like I don't think that's ever happened before. And essentially that's what I think they're trying to tell people. Essentially, I know like Microsoft, I think, is allowing people to return it on Xbox Store, but Sony is not. I know they have more stringent policies when it comes to returning stuff on PSN. So that's kind of interesting, because essentially what Sony's saying there is, we still want the money from the sales of the game, but you guys have to refund them for the cost of the game. So essentially CD Projekt Red is losing money by paying back the consumer. It's just tricky. It's tricky.
It's tricky. Yeah. Sean, what do you think about the apology, and do you think fans should be this upset, or shouldn't be this upset? What do you think about all this?
I mean, I think fans are right to be upset depending on your platform. As Daniel said, I have it on my Series X as well, and I have no issues at all. Jackie occasionally has gotten in the way of some things, but that's really it. I had one guy in one of the beginning missions get stuck in a wall, so that was really weird, but I was able to shoot through the wall, so I was fine. But yeah, other than that, I have not experienced any glitches myself that are like game breaking. Haven't had any performance issues as well, but I've seen the videos from the base models of last gen consoles, and I can understand how Daniel made up a great point. If we would have gotten those at the time that we were supposed to get those, just imagine what that would have been. Like, that would have been crazy to think that we would have gotten those games at that point. So I don't know. I know, Daniel, you also said that it was unprecedented as far as refunds itself, but it's also been, in a sense, unprecedented with this hype for this game. It was announced kind of back in 2012. And ever since then, the hype has just been building and building and building for this game. And now it's here. And I get it. We've had games kind of hit the mark at launch before, but I personally don't think the communities wanted a game to succeed this much and be so let down at the same time right now. I think CD Projekt Red is doing things kind of right. I think their wording is not helping them, though, too. I think their actions are, but their wording is not at all giving any calm to users. Because in my mind, I do have a base PS4, and I was planning on getting it on my PlayStation 4. I can only imagine how pissed I would have been if I would have booted up that game at that point. And it already suffered 3 delays. Yeah. I know a lot of people are saying, well, why not delay it for a 4th time? CD Projekt Red was saying, well, that we didn't want to delay it. There wasn't any added pressure that they felt, but they just wanted to hit it this year, which in my mind, I think we all know that means there was added pressure to hit it. Yeah. But you just think, like, what could have another delay hit with? I think Daniel is a unrelenting, diehard Halo fan. He was probably more broken than anybody when the Halo game got delayed this year, especially for a console launch. But we all know it's gonna be a better game in the end, regardless of how you felt when it was showed off, and you're getting it more than likely next fall. I don't think all delays are bad, so it's like, why wasn't that on the table to say, like, look, it's not ready. Like, this current gen now can handle it. Last gen couldn't. We apologize. We can transfer your pre-orders over, that type of thing. But at this moment, we have to kind of go back and do a lot of technical cleanup. I don't feel like the community would have been that upset. It's 2020. We're all used to disappointment now. So what's another one at that point?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. As we talk about the refunds just now, they actually told people that they could get them. Just contact PlayStation, just contact Xbox. You'll be able to get your refund. Danny was just saying a little bit about how you can get it on Xbox. I don't know how easily it is on Xbox, but on PlayStation, people are having a lot of trouble getting their refund. I've seen a lot of screen grabs of the chats that they've been having with Sony agents, and they're kind of just trained to say a certain thing right now. Nothing against the Sony agents, because again, they're trained to do this. They're just doing their job at this point. But it's crazy that CD Projekt Red just had to send them that way after what happened. I think I have where is it here? I think I have what they actually sent people. CD Projekt Red says, "Dear gamer, this is a confirmation that we've received your assistance request for a funding console copy of Cyberpunk 2077. As this email was sent automatically, we kindly ask you not to reply. We'll get back to you as soon as possible, no later than the end of 2020, with information regarding next steps." So I think it's really interesting that and this is not so much on CD Projekt Red and rather on PlayStation and Xbox, that the policies are so hard to work with that gamers can't get their money back for buying a copy of the game digitally, even though they're selling consoles that are literally, you can only buy system or games digitally now. Yeah. So that kind of policy definitely needs to change soon, because gamers are going to only have that option eventually. Depending on what console you get, people are just going to be able to get digital games. So that needs to change for not just this, but games in the future, because we're getting to a more digital space. So I thought that was definitely an interesting topic as well.
Yeah. From what I've seen, people have been saying that Xbox, you can get refunds as long as you haven't played a significant amount of time, so like less than a few hours or whatever, and as long as you haven't abused refunds in the past. So like if you're consistently refunding stuff, they'll probably decline it because you consistently refund stuff. Definitely. So from that front, that's what I've seen. And then like you said, the Sony people are being told to say specific things, and they're not doing the refunds, which I don't really understand that, because I feel like it does fall on the store platforms side of things to handle refunds, because like I said before, they're taking the money for the games, and then they're giving, obviously they're taking their cut and then giving the rest of the profits to CD Projekt Red. But when let's just say CD Projekt Red comes up with a way to refund consumers directly from them, they're going to refund you 63 whatever, however much it is with tax. It's obviously different for you, Roro, because you're Canadian. But they would be refunding more than they're taking in from Sony. So Sony's still taking their cut from the game and essentially saying they're not refunding the consumer. They want CD Projekt Red to refund them, which I don't really agree with, because it's their store platform. Like you're penalizing CD Projekt Red for releasing their game on your platform, which I don't know.
Yeah, I hope this is something that gets fixed eventually. It's a lot. It's a lot that has been happening, and it does suck that this is going around, as you both stated, such a hyped up game that we've been anticipating for so long. Sean, do you think that they'll be able to amend things? Do you think they'll be able to get back goodwill, CD Projekt Red in general?
I think so, because I don't think it's a bad comparison, but I don't think they're Bethesda right now. Bethesda has so much ill will towards the community when it came to Fallout 76. It was a game that was announced that nobody wanted, and then it was a game that launched with so many technical issues, and then it was just obviously a poor game up until I guess they kind of fixed it more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people are thinking that with Cyberpunk. They don't think it's a poor game. They just think that it was very shady business practices on how they launched the game. And I get it. Sometimes, especially in the video game community, it is hard to earn back trust. But if anybody, Hello Games did it with No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
I mean, No Man's Sky won the Game Award for what was it? Continuation game
Best
or something like that.
game, yeah.
Yeah.
Master Chief Collection snubbed.
Okay, but that game was dead on arrival when it launched 5 years ago, and like that game still has life to it. So I'm not saying that's Cyberpunk's the same way, but you can change the course depending on how you both respond to the community and how you improve your game. I think the refunds is the right thing to do. It's not something that's been done before, so we don't know how it's going to look in the end. I mean, honestly, the thing they could have done is been ahead of this from the get-go.
Yeah.
They can't say they didn't know the last gen versions were going to be bad. That's the one thing that just does not look good. It's of course you did. You had to put it on a disc. You had to know it was going to be bad.
So I kind of have a question before. I know we're getting close to the end here, but I kind of have a question. Do we think that maybe they had too many platforms that they targeted at launch? Like they had so many, I think like 7 or 8 versions of the game. Do we think that they just targeted too many platforms right away?
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
They even said that was the reason for the second delay.
Right.
That was quoted as the reason. And it's like,
and that's why I almost wish they would have just focused on last gen consoles only and PC and just had Xbox One, PS4, and PC at launch. And obviously your Series X and your PS5 can play the backwards compatible version of that until that was ready. And instead they tried to do this weird thing where the Series X has some optimizations for it, and PC is a mess if you don't have a higher end card, and you have Stadia, and you have, there's just so many platforms. I just feel like, that's probably part of the reason.
Definitely.
I mean, it should have been a concentration of PC and now's current gen.
Yeah.
We all saw it a long time ago. It should never have been a PS4 Xbox One game.
Well, I don't know about that because they've been making this game for how many years now? They were, before these consoles were even announced, they were making this game for those old consoles. So I don't know that they can necessarily say that, oh, we weren't wanting to concentrate on those platforms because they weren't powerful enough. I feel like they wouldn't have made the game on those consoles to begin with. Like years ago when they started development on this game, those consoles didn't exist. So the new consoles didn't exist. So why? I don't know. I don't feel like that would be a good reason for them to just say, oh, we're not going to do PS4 and Xbox One. And I feel like it's possible for them to fix it. It's going to take time.
Yeah. I think they can fix it too. As we said earlier on, they have to make other people than just gamers happy, and that's probably why they released the game. But a delay would have helped, obviously, because it does suck that, as Daniel said earlier, the developers are the ones that are facing the worst of this, even though they are not wholly to blame for the state that it's in. Again, they did make the game, but if they had more time, they would obviously have made a better product. If management did a better job managing, they would probably put their efforts in certain parts that needed the time and care that it didn't get. So it does suck that the people who created this game for what is now freaking 8 years, they stopped to continue working on this game and continue to crunch until February to get this game in a better state. Hopefully February is the end of that, but they still have DLC that they need to work on and all that stuff. So it does suck that this is not the end for them. Even though the game is released, they still have a lot of work to do. So that is a bit upsetting.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you guys have anything else that you wanted to add before we ended the show?
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching live on YouTube and listening on podcast services including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, and Stitcher. You can catch us live on YouTube Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you, Daniel, and thank you, Sean. Until next time, later will be greater.
Deuces.
Halo Infinite is 343's Halo 3.